So you've got this entire school of thought, existential psychology, coming over from Europe to the United States, and it really needed a spokesperson. And for pretty much half a century, that voice belonged to Rollo. Now, he wasn't some researcher in a lab coat. He was a clinician, a really deep thinker who kind of built a whole new way of looking at what it means to be human. All right, let's get into it. And this right here is the question that's at the absolute heart of May's work. And let's be honest, it's at the heart of being human, isn't it? This wasn't just some academic question for him either. He was forced to live it, and the answers he found would go on to shape a whole generation of thinking. You know, to really get what May was all about, you've got to understand his life. And his life started in a place that was almost the complete opposite of everything he would eventually come to value. So you can see this pattern forming, right? This constant searching. He's born into a home that basically has no interest in education. He gets kicked out of one college for being too radical, so he just escapes to Europe to be an artist. And then he goes to seminary, but not to preach religion. He went there, in his own words, to ask the ultimate questions. He was always pushing against his background, looking for something more. I mean, just listen to this quote. It says so much about the world he grew up in. This wasn't just, a lack of books on the shelf. This was an active, almost hostility toward being curious about the world. Can you imagine being told that learning, that seeking knowledge, could literally make you go crazy? That's what he was up against. And, he did overcome it, but not how you'd think. See, May's biggest breakthroughs, they didn't come from a library. They were forged in the fire of some really intense personal crises. Okay, so May did not pull any punches when talking about his family life. He described his own mother with that shocking phrase. And he directly blamed her unpredictable behavior and his sister's breakdown for his own 2 failed marriages. This wasn't just some background story. It was a constant source of chaos that deeply shaped how he saw human relationships. So his first real crisis hits him while he's teaching in Greece. And it wasn't just being tired. It was a total collapse of his entire worldview. Everything he thought he knew, every rule he lived his life by, it just stopped working. It was this terrifying void, and it forced him to see that he had to find a completely new purpose, to actually listen to his own inner voice for the very first time. And just when you think it can't get worse, it does. This next crisis, it was a threat to his very life: tuberculosis. He spends 3 years in a sanitarium with no cure, no medicine, just waiting. For months and months, he had no idea if he was going to live or die. And this experience, more than anything else, became the crucible for his life's work. So there he is, in that sanitarium, totally helpless. And it's right there that he has the single most important insight of his entire life. He's just lying there, watching people, and he starts to notice this undeniable pattern. It wasn't just about how sick someone was. The patients who just passively gave in, who accepted their fate, they were the ones who usually died. But the ones who fought back, who got angry, who asserted their will to live, they were the ones who tended to pull through. It was like he was watching the power of the mind play out over biology right in front of his eyes. And that's when it clicked for him personally. He realized his own passive attitude was part of the problem. He had to take responsibility. He had to develop some fight. He had to assert his will to live. And it was only then that he started to get better for good. The big takeaway: healing isn't passive. It's an active process. So this incredible realization, this life or death lesson about the power of your own will, this becomes the absolute bedrock of his entire psychological theory. He took what he learned in that hospital bed and scaled it up to the entire human condition. And this is really the heart of existential psychology, the school of thought May became famous for. It's not about endlessly digging up your past or blaming things outside of yourself. It's all about recognizing that you are here right now in the present and that you are ultimately responsible for what you make of your life. You see it, right? This is his sanitarium observation, just applied to all of life. The unhealthy person is like that passive patient. They run from their destiny, they give away their freedom, they lose track of who they even are. But the healthy person, they're the patient who fights. They challenge their destiny, they value their freedom, and they find the courage to live authentically, right now. So what does this courageous path actually look like, according to May? Well, it's about challenging your destiny, the hand you're dealt. It's about cherishing your freedom to choose how you respond. It means accepting full responsibility for those choices. It means living authentically, being true to yourself and others. And this is a big one, it means recognizing that life doesn't go on forever and living with that knowledge. And this message, this powerful idea born out of his own intense suffering, it really hit a nerve. It's what made him a major intellectual voice in the 20th century. And he did it through his books. He took these really big, complex existential ideas and brought them to everyone. Books like Love and Will became national bestsellers. He wasn't just writing for other academics. He was talking to anyone and everyone who was wrestling with these huge questions of anxiety, freedom, and meaning in the modern world. So in the end, May's whole life, his whole philosophy, it kind of boils down to the same question he had to answer for himself in that hospital bed. It's the ultimate challenge, really. When life throws its inevitable struggles at you, your destiny, are you going to be the passive patient, the one who just accepts it? Or are you going to be the one who fights, who asserts your will, and who takes responsibility for forging your own meaning?